is we're going to look at section 5-5, but we're going to do perpendicular lines as opposed to parallel lines that we did yesterday. So if you did parallel lines, perpendicular, super, super easy. Not bad at all. Let's review a little bit about parallel lines. So I'm going to add a slide here. Let's review. So yesterday, parallel lines, what about them? That is correct. They're lines that never intersect, and they have the same slope. So if you remember yesterday, I had you do this. M was 4, so then the new slope, M is 4. And if our M was negative 1/3, if I did a line that's parallel to it, M was negative 1/3. Remember how we did that yesterday? All right, let's also take a look at a problem from yesterday. If I had the ordered pair 3, 4, all right, and I had y equals 1/3 x plus 2. Again, this is review from yesterday. My slope in this line was 1/3. And if I did parallel, my new slope is 1/3. And then I put it in form y equals mx plus b. My y is 4. Where did you get that from? The ordered pair, that's correct. My m was 1/3. My x is 3. Where did you get that from? The ordered pair plus b, because that's what I'm trying to find. Okay, so 4 equals, what's 1/3 times 3? It's 1. Plus b, I'm going to subtract my 1 to get b by itself, so 3 gives me b. Right. My new equation then is y equals 1/3 x plus 3. So in other words, if I had that equation and I had a point out here, that blue equation is a line that's parallel. It's parallel to this black line, and it goes through that dot. So it looks like that. That's what you're finding. Okay, remember that from yesterday? We're going to use those things now, and we're going to apply it to perpendicular. Right? So what do I know about perpendicular lines? They what? They intersect to form what? Thank you, 90-degree angles. A lot of kids say they form an X. Kind of. Not every X is perpendicular. Okay, they intersect like this, and they're going to form 90-degree angles. That's the key, is that they're 90-degree angles. If you don't have 90-degree angles, they're not going to be perpendicular. Okay. Their slopes are different. Slopes are opposite reciprocals. In elementary school, you would say there are 2 lines that form an X, because in elementary school, that was good enough. But now that we're in high school, we say there are 2 lines that intersect to form 90-degree angles or right angles, right? So I need more information on that. Slopes are opposite reciprocals. What does that mean? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. If I have the slope of 4, right? That's the same thing as 4 over 1. Now remember, yesterday I drew a little arrow and I put 2 parallel lines on the top. What you're going to do is put an upside down T. That means perpendicular. And so my new slope then, it says opposite. So if it's positive, this one's going to be negative. So it's going to be negative, and a reciprocal just means that I take that fraction and I flip it. So my numerator becomes the denominator, and my denominator becomes the numerator. So this is negative 1 over 4. That's my new slope. If my slope is negative 1/3, and I do perpendicular, my new slope then is going to be, it's going to be 3. So I went from negative, I moved to positive, and I flipped it. Now, let's take a look at one more thing just quickly. If my slope is 0, and I want a perpendicular slope, if a line has 0 for slope, what type of line is it? What type of line is it? You have 2 choices. Okay, it's going to be horizontal, remember? Yeah, if it's 0 slope, it's a horizontal line. So what would be perpendicular to that? It would be vertical. And what's the slope of a vertical line? It's not 90 degrees. It is, but I'm asking about the slope. What's the slope of a vertical line? So what do we say when it doesn't have one? We say it's undefined. That is a test question that you will have on the test for Monday. So you might want to put it somewhere, start somewhere. If you have a vertical line, you have an undefined slope, the line that's perpendicular to that will have a 0 slope. We'll do a problem like that later. So star it, circle it, huge concept there, okay? It's like a 4 question with standard-based grading. All right, let's actually go now to the problems. Problem number 1. What is the slope of this line? It's 1/3. And if I'm doing a line that's perpendicular to it, notice how it's different from yesterday. Very good. It's -3. So y equals mx plus b. What's my y? 4. What's my m? -3. What's my x? 3. What's my b? B. That's what I'm trying to find. Right? So 4 equals, very good, -9 plus b. I add 9. And I get 13 equals b. Okay, am I done? What do I have to do? That's right, I have to come up with the equation, right? So y equals, what's my slope? -3. Make sure you take the right one. It's the new slope. It's the one that you just got. X plus 13. Now, for just a minute, take a look at the one that we just previously did. Remember how we did this one? Do you notice how the blue line, it's the y equals 1/3 x. Notice that's a positive slope. Notice the y-intercept is 3. Do you see that? Do you notice with perpendicular, my slope is not positive, but it's negative, and my y-intercept is different, isn't it? Yeah. So what happened was, I had this line, I had this dot, and rather than doing parallel, I'm doing a line that's perpendicular. So it's going in the opposite direction. And you came up with the equation of that. Questions? If you visualize it, it makes a little bit more sense as to what you're doing. All right, let's take a look at this one. We've got a line A and we have a line B, and we want to know if they're perpendicular to each other. Now, many students would take these and graph these. And they do like a eye shot of it and say, yep, it's perpendicular. Notice that I didn't give you graph, and I'm just asking you for the slopes. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the green line A, and we're going to take those ordered pairs, and we're going to find the slope. What do I do to find the slope of those two ordered pairs? Very good. So we're going to use all that information that we've done before. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Notice how we're using things from before. Yesterday, I had a couple of students not remember how to do slope because they didn't do the homework from the slope. They didn't practice it enough. And so now I'm assuming you know it, and they can't do it because they don't know, they never did it. Okay. Y2 is 4 minus over 3 minus 1. So I end up with a over 2. Okay, that's my slope. Now I'm going to take my blue line. And I've got 1 comma negative 3, 2 comma negative 5. And it's great. I'm looking at a lot of you. You're not even looking up here. You're just doing it. And then you pair up at the end and make sure your answer's right. That's good. That means you know what you're doing. So what do you think? Are they parallel? Why aren't they parallel? They're not the same, right? Are they perpendicular? Yes, they are. Why? Very good. They're flipped. One's positive, one's negative. So yes, their slopes are opposite reciprocals. And you need to justify it. Don't just say, yup, or graph it and go, yup. Okay, that's kind of a 6th grade thing. That's not really a 9th and 10th grade thing. Okay, and it's a meaty answer. It's a really meaty answer. We're using opposite reciprocals. We're talking about slopes. Questions?
When you pick the numbers, the 1 and negative 3.
Yep.
Does it matter if they just think the 2 and negative 5 and 1 and negative 3?
So you're asking, does 1 comma negative 3 have to be x1, y1? They can be x2, y2, but just make sure that if you label one x2, the other one is the y2. They both have to have the same number. But it doesn't matter which one you call 0.1 or 0.2. You would. Yeah. Oh, good question. All right, let's move on. Determine if the lines, if any, are parallel or perpendicular. Okay? So take a look at line A. This is on your test, by the way. It's on your test. It's on your test review. So you want to make sure you take really, really good notes. Star it, highlight it, put somewhere in gold, laminate it. It's huge. Okay. Line A. What's my slope? Is it 12? Is it negative 12? What is it? Good. It's not in slope-intercept form, is it? And yet several of you on the last test, that's what you did. You saw an X, it's the number in front, done. It's not true. You got to get in slope-intercept form first. So we're going to subtract 12x from both sides. Okay, and what do I get for my leftovers? Good. Negative 3y. I had a problem like this on the last test. Several kids didn't put that negative in front. Okay, equals negative 12x plus 3. Yep. And then what do I do? Yep, I'm going to divide by negative 3. So y gives me what? 4x minus 1, or plus a negative 1, correct? You got to get it in the form first. You can't just start taking stuff out. What's my slope? Equals 4. Not x, just 4. The slope is the number in front of x. It's not x. Okay, how about line B, the red one? What's my slope? Now, how come you can say it's 4 on this line, but on the line before you couldn't say that? That is correct. It's in slope-intercept form. Yeah. So m equals 4. Right, now let's take a look at line C, or the green line. What's my slope? Okay, I need to subtract x. It's not in the right form. So I'm going to subtract x. 4y equals negative x plus 8. Now I need to divide by 4. Y equals, good, negative 1/4 x plus 2. That's huge. The difference between the kids that do their homework and check it and the kids that just do it to do it or not at all is that problem right there. If you can't get it in slope-intercept form and do it correctly, the next part where you start grabbing things and comparing, you can't even do it because you're not there. You got to get it in the right form. So my m then on this is negative 1/4. Okay, now I need to answer the question. Of these, are there any that are parallel? Yes. Why do you say line A and line B? Very good. Yep. So A is parallel to B. Slopes are the same. Done. Are there any others that are the same? No. Okay, now let's talk perpendicular, right? Take a look at A and B. A and B aren't perpendicular. How about A and C? A and C are perpendicular. So A is perpendicular to C. B is perpendicular to C. Why? That's correct. So the slopes are opposite reciprocals. Slopes are opposite reciprocals. And you can abbreviate. I don't care. That's fine. But I need to see opposite reciprocals. You need to explain. And make sure you have these in your notes, because this is on your test review. This will be on your test. Okay? I'm going to do one more example with you. All right? Let's say I have a line A, and let's say that x equals 4. And let's say I have a line B, and I got y equals negative 4. And let's say I have line C, and I got x equals 1/4. Okay? I'd write this down. This is on your test review. It's on your test. It's coming. So highlight it, circle it. It's the one that kids really struggle on. That's why I'm bringing it up. Let's take a look at A. If x equals 4, what does that line look like? It's vertical, isn't it? Yep, it goes up and down. And I love how she did. She visualized it in her head. There's there's a dot on 4 on the x-axis, and it's not going to go with the axis, it's going to go the opposite way. So it's a vertical line, correct? Okay, if this is a vertical, what's the slope? Very good, it's undefined. Have you seen that? Yeah, it was on your last test. It was on your quiz, it was on your test, it was on your test review. And you're seeing it again, so notice how it haunts you. Take a look at B. Y equals -4. That's correct, it's a horizontal line. What's the slope of a horizontal line? It's 0. X equals 1/4. It's a vertical line. Actually, I'm going to make this a -1/4 if I can. Change it to -1/4. Just because I'm throwing something else in there. Okay. Now, let's talk. Which lines are parallel? Okay, some people say none, some people say B and C. The people that say B and C, you said this slope would be undefined, right? Because it's a vertical line. Okay, why are B and C parallel? Because I made C negative. So if C was X equals 1/4, would they be perpendicular? What do you compare when you compare lines and parallel and perpendicular? The slope, not the equation. Okay? So which lines are parallel? Yes. A and C are parallel. And you go, wait a minute, it says X equals 4 and X equals -1/4. They're not the same. The parallel is the slopes. What are their slopes? Undefined. They have the same slope. You compare the slopes, not the equations. So they're parallel because slopes are the same. They're undefined. You look at the slopes. I make sure you get these in your notes because you're going to get it later and you're going to come to me with the test review. Go, I don't get this. And I'm going to go back to your notes because we talked about it. All right. Perpendicular. Are there any lines that are perpendicular? Yes. Which ones? A is perpendicular to B. And B is perpendicular to C. And why? They're opposite reciprocals, but more importantly, they're horizontal and vertical lines, and we know that they are perpendicular. And so one line is horizontal, and the other line is vertical. Questions? It's huge, huge. You're going to see it here. You're going to see this in geometry. You're going to see it in Algebra 2. You're going to see it in pre-calc. You're going to see it in college algebra. You're going to see it a lot of this stuff, especially the perpendicular, or the vertical and horizontal lines. Okay. All right. Your assignment for today is going to be on page 322. So the same page as yesterday, but you're going to do 12 through 15 and 18 to 26. Again, there's only so many days before the end of the semester. 9. Get your stuff done. Get it turned in.